Sometimes looking from the inside out at a family, it can appear that family has it all. And that was the case for Antonio Armstrong Jr. and when he killed his parents. If you want to know more about his case, please continue watching. The Armstrong family appeared to have it all. 3 beautiful children who had talent, poise, and class. And that was just what their mother and father wanted for them, to be better people and to grow up and be productive members of society. But sadly, their parents would not live to see all of their dreams that they had for their children come to pass, because they would be murdered by one of their own children. It was on July 19th of 2016 at about 1:40 a.m. in the morning when 16-year-old Antonio A.J. Armstrong called 911 from his family's Bel Air area home on Palmetto Drive. And he told the dispatcher, "I just heard gunshots coming from my parents' bedroom. Can you please send someone? Please hurry." Antonio would then tell the dispatcher that he's hiding in the closet of his third floor bedroom, but he did inform the dispatcher that his sister, who was only 12 at the time, was downstairs. Although he had shot and killed his parents, he obviously didn't think this one through, because he didn't take his sister and put her in the closet with him, or he didn't at least make it look like the alarm to their home had been activated by an intruder. And I'm pretty sure when you are 16, your brain isn't fully developed, so you don't think about things like this, how to properly or improperly plan a murder, because that's just not something that your brain is capable of forming at that age, because like I said, you're still not fully developed in the brain. So obviously that's why he didn't think this through, to make it look more believable, as if it were a home invasion or a robbery of some sort. Now, Antonio did say to the dispatcher, or confirm it for her, that his parents did have, or his dad rather, had a gun either in his nightstand or under their bed in their bedroom. And during the 911 call, you can hear him mutter, "It's all my fault." And when police arrived, he ran downstairs to turn off the alarm to let them in. And they said there wasn't any appeared signs of forced entry, and the alarm had not been activated, so they could see that no one had left the house or entered the house after the alarm was set for the night. Now, I want to go back to talking about this gun because how would a 16-year-old know where his parents hide their weapons, or rather, his dad hide his weapons? Because I'm pretty sure they did not let their 12-year-old daughter know where their firearms were. So he and his brother would be the only one who knew where they were. And Antonio probably figured, well, I'll sneak it out of their bedroom when they're not home, and I'll hide it so that I can use it later. Now, when police had gotten there, they went to look at the scene, and they went into the upstairs bedroom of Antonio Sr. and his wife and discovered that she had been shot in the head, or both of them had been shot in the head, and they were still in their bed, and pillows had been placed over their faces. And that's most likely because the killer was their son. And I have seen and heard in most cases that if it's a partner or a family member that has a close connection to the victim, they'll either place blankets or sheets or pillows over their face to kind of, so they won't have to see what they've done initially. But I mean, there could have been another reason that he might have placed those pillows over their heads, probably to uh, try to suffocate them and make sure that they were both deceased, unfortunately. Now, miraculously, the dad was still clinging to life after he had been transported to the hospital, but sadly, he died from his injuries, and he wasn't able to, I guess, live to tell who did this to he and his wife. But since the alarm had been tripped in their home to indicate that anyone had forced their way in or left the house since the alarm had been set, police suspected Antonio of being the killer. And so, to protect evidence, they put bags over he and his sister's hands and placed them in the back of a patrol car. And when he had gotten to the jail, he called his older brother, Josh, and told him what had happened. So Josh grabbed his gun and raced out of out of his apartment, excuse me, raced out of his apartment and went to the house. And, as suspected, the police wouldn't let him in because it is the scene of a crime at that time. And their grandmother had also came to the house with her daughter. And just like Josh, they wouldn't let her go in or see anything. But then she saw her her grandkids in the back of a police car. And she did later tell police that if it was him who committed the murders, that it was more than likely drugs. Now, how would she know this unless she had been told by the father and the mother that their kids were using drugs? Now, this appeared to be the All American family because Antonio Sr. grew up in Houston, Texas, Fifth Ward, where he and his four siblings were raised in the church. He also played football at Texas A&M before being drafted by the San Francisco 49ers in 1995. And a few years after that, he married and met his wife Dawn, and then they moved to Canada, and he joined the Canadian Football League there. And when he married and met his wife, she already had an older son named Josh, which Antonio Sr. adopted and made his own. And then they continued their family, and shortly after that, they had a daughter named, another son by the name of Antonio Smith Jr., who is pictured here with his parents. And then they had a daughter, Kyra. And like I said, at the time of her parents' murder, she was 12 years old. Now, after Antonio was born, the family decided to move back to Houston, and that is where Antonio Sr. became a helping hand to his mother at her church because she, like I said, they were raised in the church, he and his four siblings. So I'm pretty sure that was, the most common for him, and that was where he felt the most comfortable other than the football field. So he became a helping hand to his mother at her church. And I think he also pastored at that same church as well. Now, sadly, after the murders of his parents, Josh, their older son, became very paranoid and started to act very erratic, and he would be in the bathroom talking to himself. His sister mentioned this when she was on the stand during trial, that she would hear him muttering to himself sometimes. And when he had to move back in with his parents after flunking out of college, he had started smoking marijuana, and he would be unkept and not very clean. He was later diagnosed with schizophrenia along with other mental illnesses, and he had made several trips to psychiatric centers to try to get himself some help, but it really never worked, and it seemed that his mental health was deteriorating because when you're in states like that, if you don't take your medicine and having someone watch over you, chances are that you probably are not going to get better. But I think my opinion is that he probably, was just suffering from PTSD along with the, paranoia, because his wife, who was his girlfriend at the time, said that his mental health started to deteriorate, and he made a list of people who he thought the killers might be. And it's sad to say, but even she was on that list, which makes absolutely no sense at all. But when you're in a mental state like that, everybody could be a suspect in your mind. So that is quite understandable that he did think and feel that way. Now, it's very sad how this story played out, because at one point, Antonio Jr. had aspirations of playing in the NFL just like his dad did. And they also went to a $30,000 private school. And this is where Antonio Jr. had gotten kicked out of because he was caught smoking marijuana. And I think that might have been against the school's policy or something of that nature. But I do know that I did read also that his parents had found marijuana in the home as well, when his older brother had threw a party without their consent that involved marijuana when they went out of town. So he could have been exposed to marijuana that way through his older brother, just by knowing that he was using it. Probably caused him to want to try it, and that's how this all started. Although Antonio Jr. would spend the rest of his life in prison for his parents' murder, this will be, or would have been, his third trial a few weeks ago. And his sister, Kyra, who is now 19, who lost her parents when she was 12, is a student at LSU. And she appears composed and confident. And when she testified, she said that, that night changed her life. And I'm glad that she's doing okay now. And then their brother Josh, it's really sad for him because he will never be able to live a normal life again because unfortunately at that time he had gone catatonic and couldn't or refused and wouldn't answer the doctor's questions. So, after that as well, that also left his wife to pick up the pieces and move on as well. Because, like I said, he'll never be able to lead a normal life again. So hopefully he is somewhere where he can get the support and help that he needs for his, mental health so that he can hopefully, return to a normal state of, as normal as state that he can be, because of course he'll never live a normal life again due to the trauma that he suffered from the murder of his parents. But unfortunately, guys, that brings me to the end of this video. If you like this video, please don't forget to leave me a like. Don't forget to leave me a comment down in the comment section below. And if you are not already subscribed, please make sure you remember to subscribe. And until next time, guys, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one.